Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to my first ever round table talk, whatever you want to call it, for Out of the Spiritual Closet. And today I've got an exciting hour planned for us, 45 minutes, whatever it ends up being. And I'm joined by three beautiful angels, Akashic Masters, and friends of mine that I've had the opportunity to work with in a closed container for 6 months. We weren't in a physical container. Environment. And so we all have been touched by or experienced disease, dis-ease in our bodies or with our clients in some way. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to share some insights that we have gathered from our own personal lives and from working with our clients. Everybody here has a background in the Akashic and many other gifts and skills. So when we talk about things today, we may mention some of those modalities as well too. This is a safe space. Also, I want to mention we are not doctors or trained professionals. We're spiritually trained professionals, but you must seek your own medical counsel. This does not constitute medical counsel in any way, shape, or form. And as always, you have discernment and free will to use. If the message resonates with you, take it. If not, it's not for you. So, but make sure you dig deep and make sure it's not for you. So let me introduce all these ladies and we'll go around the room. I guess it's the square table, right? No, we're going to go around the room, introduce everybody. So my name is Dawn. I am the host of the podcast Out of the Spiritual Closet, and my business is Angels in the House Party. And we'll have some links and some information at the end of this episode so that we can tell you more about how to get in contact with us. But everything will always be included in the show notes if you are looking for it. So moving right along, because I tend to talk too much, I'm going to pass it over to Stephanie so that she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for today's episode of our Square Table. I'm Stephanie Mason. I have many modalities that I have worked with. I just have a passion for energy and helping others because when you have a life full of weird things that happen to you all the time, you want to have answers, and sometimes you have to go find those answers for yourself. So I am versed in Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. I have like Dawn said, I'm a Akashic master. I do my own modality, which is quantum healing keys, which is a modality that is directly from the quantum field to help with many things. I create healing intention manifestation candles that help you understand your own reality as a tool and to go deeper into them, because candles don't lie. They show you the truth and things sometimes you don't want to see. I have sacred soul alignments and other modalities, and I'm a hypnotherapist. Morgan?
Wow, Steph, you're quite accomplished. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Morgan. I'm an Akashic Records practitioner. And I work predominantly with like relationships and soulmates because it's always been such a fascination of mine, having how our internal world reflects into our external. And one of the biggest forms is through relationship. And when I was in my early bumping on my mid-20s, I had a major health crisis, which actually was a big spiritual awakening for me. And as I've untangled that and how that's, developed and understanding my intuition and opened my spiritual gifts, it also led me through my other life path, which was through traditional Chinese medicine. So I am a trained practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine, herbology, and integrative medicine. I'm no longer practicing, but it just was such a nice way to integrate how the emotional, the energetic aspects all play out into our physical body. So that is me.
Hey, everybody. My name is Allison Delator. I am an intuitive coach. My love and my joy is to help people remember who they are before society and their family told them who to be. Everything I do is all about empowerment. It is tapping into gifts and abilities that you may not even know that you have. And like all the other ladies at the table, I am versed in all kinds of things, including energy work. I'm an animal communicator, I'm a medium. And so I really bring in all of these different modalities into what I do so that I can help the person on any given day with exactly the knowledge and spiritual support they need in the moment. And that's me.
You're on mute.
I was trying to stay on mute because I have a tendency to talk too much. So I was trying to keep it on mute. Thank you, Allison, Morgan, and Stephanie for introducing yourselves. And they've given you a little taste of some of their niche work. And we're all different in our specialties. So we'll use a lot of the same tools, but each one of us has different soul tribes and soul clients, right? And so that's why we're working together. We want to bring it to this information out to the most amount of people, the greatest amount of people, and let you know that, you know, we have a network of friends and affiliates here that, you know, if we get a conference with somebody and it's not a good match, we may say, oh yeah, but you know, Morgan can really help you with that, because I'm not big on love. No, I am. I love love. Those are soulmates. Please. That's just me. But for me, I really thrive with people in empowering people for change. That's my one little area, because I really don't get scared a whole lot. I will try new things and I'll push forward and all that. So I kind of can give people a little bit of my my guts and help give them some tools to move forward. So that's my little thing there. I can be a pain in the butt too when you don't want to change. That's neither good. Okay, so for today we're talking about disease, dis-ease in the body, and each of us has a little different opinions. But I think that we all are at the same mindset of we have control over a lot that we can change in our bodies and in our environments, you know, and we may be predispositioned to certain things, or we may have just led that kind of life, you know, maybe you're a smoker, drinker. This is not a judgment zone here. You know, people get diseases from the things that we do to our bodies, improper eating, not enough sleep. Some of it happens. I'm not saying that everyone that's ever gotten sick has done XYZ to get it, but a lot of it is controllable, but we don't have the knowledge. We don't have the knowledge at a young enough age is what my belief is. I also believe, and I'll talk from a personal experience more than professional at this point. I am a cancer survivor, 8 years, this month actually, next week. So it's a big one. And I think that part of it though, what I've come to realize, because most of my spiritual awakening, the good stuff, the juicy stuff happened after disease, really. Before that, I was living a life more predetermined for me. And I think that that's where a lot of my stuff came from personally. A lot of old childhood messaging, doing the right thing, being a people pleaser, pushing myself too far. And if I go back personally, I can look at times where I was just exhausted, but my mind was so strong and said, no, you must continue on. What will happen? How will the children eat? You know, like really ridiculous stuff. I don't think I would have gone hungry. I think that my family, you know, I would have figured something out. But in my mind, it would have been the same as death to stop and surrender. And also not paying attention to the sensations that I would get in situations led me to a lot of unaligned actions, thoughts, and carrying a lot of stuff. I almost swore, and we're live. I'm not swearing today. But unaligned actions led me down this path. So I could go on, but I'm not hogging the floor today. I am passing the microphone over to Stephanie or whoever would like to go next to talk about your beliefs behind disease and why it comes into people's worlds.
So I believe everything starts with the mind, right? Because your mind creates your reality. I also believe that the unconscious mind is part of your body and it tells you the message. But you, us as society, like Allison has talked about, are programmed to be a certain way, a certain belief, a certain way, that we push ourselves too hard and we ignore our bodies completely ignore them. When I ignore my body, it will take me out. And I've had broken bones. I also have had cancer. I had cancer when I was 28. You ignore it and it takes you. One time I had the thought, go rest. You can go order food. And I was like, I just want to get this one thing done. I just want to get this one thing done. And I went to bend down to pick something up and I back twisted, my hips popped out of place. And I literally felt like I was paralyzed and I couldn't move. I had a 1-year-old at the time who still, I had to take care of. I put on compression pants, which if you don't know what they are, like they tell you after you're pregnant, it helps you suck in the gut. I put them on just to be able to walk and get out of bed and move. If it wasn't for those pants, I think I would not have been able to move. And it was almost after that point, it was like, I felt like spirit at that point was saying to me, didn't you learn your lesson yet? And apparently I didn't, because I kept having that same thought, that same pattern, that same habit, the same behavior. And like Dawn or whatever, I think sometimes we're oblivious to these things, that we don't realize the messages are there and we just completely ignore them. And my body has taken me out many times. I burned my forehead making candles, which should not have happened. I have fallen down weird steps. I have broken bones and noses and fall off bicycles and any freak accident, just walking in the yard and hit some kind of pothole that was never there. Sprain your ankle, break your foot. Like, your body tells you. But I also think it's also your higher self and your super conscious mind basically saying, you're not on the right path. Listen, you're not on the path.
And then the other point, just to that, I like it too, is sometimes I think that if it wasn't for some of those things, I wouldn't have stopped. So,
Exactly.
Like if I didn't fall down and, twist my ankle, then I wouldn't have been sitting there meditating later that day. It stopped me from going in the wrong direction. So I love that, how you notice that. It took me way more than that to notice it.
And they talk about athletes who literally can push their mind and push their body and continue to play sports on broken bones. And it's like no phase, but they are conditioned their mind and body to be one unit. Whereas when you're not one unit, you're not mind, body, and soul, you're out of alignment somewhere. You can't expect your body to do what you want it to do, because you have to change your programming. I'm going to pass it off to Morgan. I think I've talked a lot.
No, that was really interesting. Wow, you've got a really, really talkative higher self. I'm sorry that she's always yelling at you, because that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. I really resonate a lot with what you said about the mind, and Dawn talking about the things that are controllable. And this is like, that is just so key to me through my studies and through just my background of Chinese medicine and my own disease process. For example, I had MS, a really, really, really bad case of MS. Came up, quote unquote, out of the blue. But I grew up in Spokane, Washington, which was statistically the highest prevalence of MS, and they could not point out why. Was it air quality? Was it soil quality? Why was this one pin drop on the map the highest place? And it's still something I've never fully unraveled, but it did point me in the direction of to look at those outside factors and know that we cannot control them. So what internally can I control? Because there are things outside of us that are not controllable. So we have to be hyper aware of these things. And like both of you, keep pushing myself and going. I was like just living the program. I was reliving what I taught in terms of, repeating the cycles, just like head down, doing it, living life without really thinking outside of myself. And, looking back in my early 20s, I wouldn't admit it then, maybe now I will, but I was quite angsty still from my upbringing. And just for me, it was like never having the relationship that I really wanted anywhere in my life. Like I just never felt seen or heard. And through this process, I was able to connect into my intuition. And so then I could really start to see where my mind was affecting me, and how if I was in a moment of being really frustrated about this situation of my life and that my health, and oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? Things would get a lot worse than when I could really stop and listen. Hey, what is my body telling me? And then it kind of unraveled to, I was like, well, why am I pushing myself so hard? Like those athletes that, play on broken bones, like you mentioned. Well, why are we doing this? Why in the world? And it made me think bigger outside of myself, my family patterns, looking at things culturally, just sort of as a human race. Why do we push ourselves so hard? Like, why do we need to live with our nervous system at the point of nearly snapping like a guitar string, right? Like this is what is common. And this is what is deemed as, wow, you're really doing it. You did all of that. Like, how tough are you? And by time I could understand that and give myself permission to not be there, it was like the biggest relief of seeing what I could control. Yeah, I'll never figure out why that one area that I was born into had this really high prevalence. But again, it shifted me to all of those internal factors that are controllable.
Hey, Morgan, just to your point where you talked about that one place everybody has high MS, because collectively in your reality, everybody you observed has MS. So collectively, you're in that collective consciousness. So therefore it developed in your reality.
It
so
was
collectively
actually studied. It's an actual journal, a published medical study in one of the top medical journals, and it was looked at in several different ways. So yeah, I see what you're saying, how that collective brought it into me, or maybe that's where I came
you
up.
didn't observe it.
No, exactly. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for that, Steph.
You're welcome. I think Allison was going to comment too, because she's shaking her head.
Oh no, I mean, I can agree with everything that all of you are saying about, being in alignment, being out of alignment. I have had so many times where spirit has knocked me down and been like, you need to rest, you need to do this, you need to do that. You're not, we need to redirect your course. You're going this way. We want you to go this way. And so we're going to make you go this way. But I think that there's also, some other really important factors. And the first one being, right, thoughts are things. And it is something I say all the time to my clients, thoughts are things. So for example, if we're going to use the example of a man who, let's say, every male in his family has had a coronary event at a certain age. So now that man who was once a boy has grown up his whole life hearing all the men in your family die at this age from a cardiac event. So now what has he done? He's taken that information, he's owned it in every cell of his own body. He's dreading the day he reaches a certain age because he figures he's going to drop dead. Right. And so he's now living his life based on this belief system that this is an inevitable outcome for him. And I think it's so important to look at those things because pretty much everybody has it somewhere in their family, right? It's either, oh, everybody's overweight or everybody's too thin or everybody has this or everybody has that. And so we take those things on and we own them. And I think it's also the very reason why, for example, all of the, when it became legal for pharmaceutical companies to create advertisements to be put out to the general public and to be aired on television, it's no surprise that you would see an increase in these types of things connected to the medication. Why? Because you're watching them, your subconscious is taking them in, your subconscious is going, oh, okay, yeah, we can do that. We can make that happen, sure, right? And so it's like paying attention to what you are allowing into your energetic field is a huge component of where dis-ease can come from. Alignment is key. What's going on with your chakra system? How is energy flowing through your body? Where is it stuck? Where is it trying to move and it can't. But also all of these things about belief systems and the fact that thoughts are things, I think are so, so, so important in considering where disease could potentially be coming from in your particular situation.
You're on mute.
If you guys don't mind, keep the conversation going. We're private
Yeah.
on YouTube. We're not live, so
Oh, good.
I'm
It's
gonna
all right.
switch that.
Oh, good,
I,
because now I can redo my whole introduction.
No, you just keep going because we'll put it back out there. Don't worry.
Allison, I think that's super fascinating. I love how you use the example as the man. And like you said, we all have things within our family history. And from a medical perspective, I guess we could look at that from epigenetics, right?
Mhm.
But again, from a controllable factor, we do not have to activate disease. And so it is equally as important knowing our family history, right? We don't want to ignore it or deny it or realize that we don't have a prevalence to whatever it is in our family history, but to be equally conscious to say, you know what, I'm not going to activate that. I'm not going to take on that pattern. It's not for me. No, thanks. Everyone else did it. I'm good. And so to have that equal awareness from both halves, I think is extremely important.
Yeah, 100%, 100%, because, you know, you have the ability to say, that's not my future. Right?
That's not my belief.
That's old. I don't need that. We've done that. We've all had the experience. I'm good. I'm going to be like the break in the chain, right, of that lineage. I'm going to stop it before it starts. And it's kind of like the same thing as like when people own their diseases, right?
Mhm.
Right? And then like you're literally like
Mm-mm.
you're tattooing it on your body or you're right. And so like you're literally owning it and you're making it such a big part.
So
Yeah.
for me, that's huge. Oh, number one, we are live. It is not private. I don't know why it said that. So I found that. So we're good. I really wanted to talk about that to 2 points about the family thing. I think that's so funny. So not to call anybody out, but I have a relative, let's say, they'll know who they are if they ever see this. But I have a relative who thought they were going to be dead at 40 because both of their parents had died of cancer at 40. No ifs, ands, or buts. They're knocking on 70 now, and they're still alive. However, they have dealt with a lot of health conditions during that time. And I think it was always the mindset of, well, I'm going to die. Well, I'm going to die. And I'm like, you've been dying since I met you, you know? So I think that's funny. Yeah, I think that's really funny. And it goes into the next point of what you were saying about it, owning it. So it was really big. So my cancer journey is a little bit different because I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and I had it in a low grade format for 4 years. And so you live with it. They told me you don't get any treatment for it. And so during that time period, when I had that, I'm very holistic anyway. So I was able to incorporate my homeopathy and my Reiki work and all this other stuff because the doctors weren't doing much besides just giving me iron. But during that time period, it became really obvious to me about identifying with a disease too much, and it was like what I was wearing as like the coat, like the disease coat. And that's how I'm presenting to the world. And everything I'm looking at was that way too. But then there came a point, and it was probably after chemo. Yeah, I would say it was after chemo and that, or during chemo that I decided, I was like, I will not call it my cancer. F you. No, I'm not swearing. It's not mine. No, it is in no part of me. It may be in my energetic field, but I don't identify as that. I don't even like to anymore talk about it too much other than to offer support because I don't identify that way. And I think that a lot of people, like, they call it my whatever, my this, my that. It's not yours. Do you want to wear that? Don't wear that, And so I'll call it the cancer. and it is an energy that's no longer allowed. See, I even got to push it off like it's a bad spirit. Like, whoa, kid. But I think not owning it and not defining yourself by that, changes the way you look at things. Because there was a point during chemo where I was like writing letters to my children for them to open at their weddings and their graduations in my mind. I was too weak to do it. But then I was like, screw that. I'm not leaving them with their fathers. No offense. I loved them both, but anyways, just the fact of there was that point where I was like, no, this is not my reality. I'm going to do everything possible. The disease doesn't own my body. I own my body, my mind, and my soul. And so for me, that was huge.
100%.
I think that's really beautiful. And I agree. I love that you also emphasize it at certain point, because I think for so many people, when they're not well, like you just want to find out what's wrong with you, right? You're going to go to the doctor. You're going to have, you might do a little bit of diagnosis chasing in the beginning. And that's part of the path, because I know for me, when I finally got a diagnosis, I was like, oh, thank God, like I know what's wrong with me. And then it was like, okay, yeah, but I'm not owning it. There was this time frame where it felt really good to know that, like, as we've been talking about, it is all in your mind, but when something's happening in your physical body, you're like, okay, it's not all in my mind. It really manifested as something. And then it gives you at least something you can unravel and figure out. But for me at that stage, and again, I was pretty young, I almost needed that title. And I saw that with a lot of my previous patients. They needed to know what was wrong with them. And then it definitely put people into two groups. It was the choice to own it, or the choice to not own it and set it apart and continue to heal and unravel, use your holistic things, change your mindset, and do things like that. So I think that's really beautiful that you shared that journey, Dawn.
And I agree with both of you. Like me personally, I've had every year I go to the doctor, I get a new diagnosis. Nobody knows what's going on with me. And every year it changes. So at this point in time, I'm an anomaly, right? Everything that I've experienced, I'm just the anomaly. But that is for me to figure out what's going on with me, because the doctors at this point in time just don't know. And that's okay, because it goes back to what you all have said. I don't have to identify with whatever that is in my reality. And yes, the unknowing part is the part but it's about me going into the unknown and understanding that I chose this experience for whatever reason my soul wanted to learn from. Understand what it is. And part of that starts with looking at my programs, looking at my beliefs, looking at what I have allowed into my reality, and changing that program, changing that belief system. And therefore my body can be back to that state of optimum health. And even changing the mindset, you can turn your body back to vitality. You can turn it back where you're not aging. You can age slower. There's a lot of things you can do by changing the mindset and the programs running within the body.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like to Morgan's point, I think too, getting the diagnosis, like I have battled autoimmune diseases the majority of my life, right? And if you're a woman and you have an autoimmune illness, good luck, because it's going to take you like 20 to 30 doctors before you get the diagnosis.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because
Me
every
too.
male doctor will tell you it's in your head and it's not real.
Or it's
Well,
hormonal, or it's your hormones.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, if you get near menopause, it's all menopause. FYI.
It's all,
yeah,
it's all your
absolutely.
hormones.
Yes.
That's my thing now. It's all your hormones. They just got to adjust,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think like as a child, I was very, very sick. And
Me too.
I had chronic ear infections. I had chronic strep throat. And it took all the way till I was 17 before I had finally, my mom took me to a female endocrinologist who was like, oh, she has Hashimoto's. Like that fast. Like, there's your answer. That's what this is, right? And then, of course, there's that whole thing with autoimmune, like, it's like a bag of chips. You never get just one, right? And so, and then it progressed to other things all the way until I got sarcoidosis in my 30s. But then it was like once you have the diagnosis and you're like, okay, I know what it is. So now I know how I can fight it. I know how I can take my power back. I know how I can start to heal my own body just by having the knowledge of what it is that you're fighting, so to speak, right? Which in turn is whatever's happening within your physical body, but having that title, that basic information is paramount to being like, okay, now I know what I can do. I have the answer.
And I think part of it too, which goes to one of the questions that's on our list to talk about, is what can we do to change the energy? I know I'm skipping. They're looking. We had just a few questions we thought.
You're staying in flow.
We're in flow, yes. But what can we do to change that? So I think that being heard and seen is huge. Right? As anyone that's ever had anything can attest to, being heard and seen. Some doctors saying, yes, you're not crazy. There's something going on. Getting that diagnosis can lead us to like a reset. Go, okay, now what can I do? Because I do feel that many of us search. I personally searched for 2 years, was going to doctors, was getting IV vitamin therapies and all that when I was first diagnosed. In fact, to your points, I thanked the doctor when he gave me the diagnosis of non-Hodgkin's, which he died because he was like, nobody's ever thanked me for telling them they have cancer. But I had already determined based on childhood, my research, because I had my appendix out, I had my tonsils out, I got every random weird disease, Quincy's throat. The doctor hadn't seen it in 40 years or something. What? So I had all those things in my childhood, but society kept me pushing ahead. No, and I was always told, you better be dying to take the day off of work.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yes.
When I realized that, I was like, oh no. And I was a boss and I was, a parent, and I had that mentality, as do many in society. You're a slacker, you're lazy, you little wimp, you got a cold, you can't come in. Well, on the upside of COVID, if there's a benefit from it, I think we all gained a healthier respect for the physical body and keeping each other healthier and giving some compassion on that, on what you can do. So I wanted to talk about what we could do to change the energy. But before I jump there, we all talked about women and, going through different things. And I do want to mention there's a beautiful book out there. It's called Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom by Dr. Christine Northrup, I think her name is. She wrote it 30 years ago when my mother and my aunts were going through the change, and there was nothing. There were no books. I mean, this thing is like a Bible. It's that big, right? But it's got a lot of different insights. And that book was really nice for me because it allowed me to look at the emotional aspects of things and to put that in there. That was one of the first doctors I ever heard. So I think sometimes, we all need help. We all need assistance. So how do we change the energy? Well, if it's beforehand, before the event occurs, we can work definitely with the mind and those messagings that everybody has spoken of. I think that's huge. And then we can look at the physical things we're doing. Are we pushing our bodies? Are we putting the wrong things in it? Are we putting the wrong foods in it? Are we so on that fast track that we can't even make ourselves a healthy meal, that we're having to drive through the drive-through? And no shame on McDonald's or anywhere like that, because I have definitely done my share of drive-through windows with my children, which they lambast me for now. But but anyways, so education is huge. Getting resources, understanding, changing the energy by changing your mind, changing what you're putting in your body, and changing the way you're talking to yourself, giving yourself permission, having compassion. So that would be some of my big tips on how to change the energy. Anyone else want to jump in on that?
Well, I would think too, energy clearings, it's something I do a lot of. Energy clearings are so beneficial to just pushing out, right? Stuff that you don't want in your field, that you don't want in your chakras, I think is really, really important, along with really having a super loving relationship with your physical body, telling her that you love her, thanking her for all of the hard work that she does every day without your thought process involved, right? All the automatic things that your body does, your heart beating, you breathing, digestion, blood flow, right? Things you never have to give a second thought to. I think a lot of it starts with thanking it, loving it, appreciating it, honoring it, and most of all, listening to it. And it may be the slow down, or what I have found with some of my clients is they'll have a situation that comes up in their life and they're being told to do something, but they don't necessarily really agree with it, but they're trying to follow the advice of a professional. And then their body, it might be an illness that they had previously, flares back up, right? And it's like your body going, hey, pay attention. This doesn't resonate with you. You don't want to do this. You're not in alignment with this. But sometimes we give our power away to professionals, medical doctors, therapists, whatever it may be, and we're disconnected from our own discernment around it.
I love that, Allison. I think that is so beautiful, because you think about it. I remember sitting there, you think like the body is such a wonderful machine. It is designed to repair itself. It is designed to, create life and to do all these marvelous things. And the body wants to heal. And more than anything, cut your finger, cut your hand, right? It grows a scab and then new skin grows. The body wants to heal. So giving it the tools. Do you find that in the beginning, because I would think so, but do you find that your clients need that extra, or benefit, maybe not need, because we know that's not a word, benefit from that push from an external source, seeing a professional energy worker of some kind, giving them a space? Is that another way to be heard, or do you think they do better off on their own?
No, I think it absolutely helps people feel heard. And sometimes, like if I'm looking at somebody's energy system and I can be like, I'm seeing this here. And then they go, oh my God, that's where all my discomfort is. That's where my pain is, that right. And so it allows them to be like, oh my God, it is like somebody can see it. I'm not being dismissed by this person. This person is hearing me on a different level, and also helping me to tune into my own physical body so that I can do this myself in the future. I can know, wait a minute, this person, I'll give you an example. Like somebody I know was seeing a therapist, and the therapist was like, you need to divorce your spouse. And the person was like, I don't want to. Like, I know in my heart, I don't want to, but I'm being told I have to make this decision. And then her body flared up. And I'm like, your body's telling you that you're trying to do something that your heart and soul doesn't want you to do, but you're feeling pressure externally to do something that you don't agree with. And the physical body will happily tell you when, something's going on and you're not in your own power.
Yes.
Working with a healer or a spiritual counselor or advisor, whatever we call ourselves in a given moment, you're able to bring awareness to something they would not have normally seen, because they're missing all the signs, because they're out of alignment. And sometimes it takes that person to say, hey, let's feel into your body. What is the message? Let's drop in here. What does that feel like to you? And you might get the memory of, oh, when I was a child, this happened. This was said to me. Or you feeling over here. And you're like, yeah, my husband and I, blah, blah, blah. You sometimes store those emotions in your body as well. So then the emotions start talking to you. You just don't know, because unconsciously you store them. You don't want to deal with them, because as a society, we are not to feel our feelings. We're not allowed to put them out there. We're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to feel our feelings. Your body.
That's
and your
the old world, right?
Exactly. And your body is like, let me just shove them down here. Like, put them over here. Let me put them over here. And at some point in time, your body's like, I can't hold any more emotions. And you'll have vomit of the mouth. But then you start having that awareness of where that emotion is speaking up from, and you'll start to be able to heal some of those things. But it's about having that awareness to begin with. And that's where a healer can take you on a different journey. Like Allison said, where you can start understanding what is being presented to you and start to work on your own way of healing. Because when it's in your awareness, then you're like, I know what to do from here, because you have released that block and now have the free flowing information where you can start working on it yourself.
I love that. That's really beautiful. What I have, if I could offer, I would love to suggest in 2 areas when you are dealing with the disease process is to stay in the sweet spot. So like when we're in a state of disease, we feel way out of control. It feels so scary, so frightening. We don't know what's happening with our body. We're trying to control our mind. And we will either do the one absolute thing we believe in, or we will try everything. And neither of those are like the ends of the spectrum, right? So the sweet spot in this state is to find 2 or 3 things that really make a difference. It could be Chinese medicine. It could be Reiki. It could be energy clearance. It could be a healer. Just make sure you align yourself with people that you trust and that you are part of the process with them. Because we all need that external help to get us through this disease process. And that'll help you stay in that sweet spot of feeling like you are in some sort of control, right? You have these choices, you're selecting these people, you're trying these 2 to 3 different modalities in a very consistent way that you're starting to see results and you're feeling better, your symptoms are easing, these type of things. The other area to stay in the sweet spot is between knowing it's not your fault you're in disease and that you're also not a victim. And so that's where that mind shift comes in, because it can be like, okay, if it's not my fault, then I'm a total victim. And so to really find that middle ground of, yeah, you're going to have some rough days feeling like you're a little bit victimized in that, but that will allow you to see some underlying patterns, some thoughts, some old stories, whatever is putting you even in a subconscious victim mentality. I mean, it'll be 20 years in February since I was first diagnosed, and still even this year, there are aspects of hidden bits of me that still had some, subconscious, unconscious victim mentalities associated around different health things and things. So they can be sneaky to find, but in this moment of crisis, really like lay the boundaries out on both of those things. So you have a way to keep yourself in the middle and find your path through it, because the further away you get from the active disease process in your body and your energy field in your mind, the more perspective you're going to gain. But we can lose a lot of perspective in crisis. So having those important people to help us, having those different modalities, and knowing that we're right in the middle of not our fault and yet we're not a victim about it will get us through.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Between those 2, because that is truth of where you go with it. And the other point that I wanted to say was the ownership piece is like big to me, of, like you said, having some control. And I liked having a few things that I could do, because I don't turn my health, mental or physical, completely over to anybody. It's mine, right? I can get assistance in that, but it's not theirs to do. And so I love the fact of finding some solid base, finding some things that work, because you can't cure me, you can't heal me. I'm in charge of me. I need everything to help me, but I need ways to keep healthy, and I need tools that I can implement on a daily basis, so that I'm not having to run to Allison and Stephanie and Morgan. For me, getting out of my head is big, because I can get those loops going in my head. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done X, Y, Z, and this is what caused me to be here. And anyways, I'm not telling on myself, but what I wanted to say about that was, so for me, getting out of my head, walking has always done it for me. Getting out of the house, and it doesn't mean you have to go anywhere. I mean, even just walking out in the yard and sitting on the grass or looking at the trees, getting out of my head. For me, I know when I had a lot of hormones back in the day, I would get frustrated real easy, and being outside in nature was the best thing for me to get out of my head and back into my body and ground a little bit. So walking, music is huge for me as well. I love music to change my attitude. I like to, it's one of the gifts that I do get from my masters and teachers is they'll drop songs in for me all the time. And I love that. So it just starts the day off kind of silly, but I like to use music. Sometimes I have to go back all the way to the 70s music to get that good jive feeling going for myself, dating myself. So those are big. And just stop judging. Don't judge so much, change the glasses and stuff. I know I'll talk to that, but change the glasses, the lens of how you're looking at yourself in the situation.
All right, so I'm going to speak about your music for just a minute. My team puts music songs in there. They'll have to change the words. So one of the ones that comes up a lot for me for women empowerment would be, I'm stepping out. I want the world to know, right? Because you're stepping out of that old aspect of you that is keeping you stuck in your experience. You're stepping out of that experience and you're shedding light on what could be. Lenses. How many of you have been in a relationship where the guy did nothing wrong? Everything he did was so cute and you just loved it. And you totally ignored the fact that everybody's like, dude, that chick, he's not good for you. Why are you, and your friends tell you all the time, like, I just don't like him. There's just something about him. And you have these cute little rose-colored glasses on. Well, take your rose-colored glasses off. We all put them on as a safety measure to not see the full picture. So set an intention that you're going to see your reality as it is and how it unfolds to you without any glasses, because it really makes a difference. When you start being in your reality and you start seeing people for who they really are, you start learning who you are meant to trust and who you created there to show you an experience. And those lenses and those glasses and goggles and all the other mechanisms that your body puts there or your body's put there to protect you may not be serving you anymore. They served you at some point in time in your life when you went through an experience, but they do not serve you anymore. Let them go. Let those glasses dissolve away. Because when you take them off and see, you are going to start seeing things for what they truly are and not what you thought they were.
Very nice. Very nice. That's any other thoughts on this subject that any other tips, suggestions, thoughts?
Yeah, I got some. So what's coming in, first off, if you love animals and you have animal companions, as an animal communicator, I can tell you that they want nothing more than to help you heal your body. They will actively move energy for you. They will also show you what proper self-care looks like. Right? As a society, we have no idea what self-care really looks like. Right? It's pushing, it's running, it's doing 9,000 things. It's feeling responsible for everybody else in the world. It's, having a never-ending to-do list. Guilty. And so it's important to look to your animals because your animals will show you like, hey, just take a nap. Just let it go. Relax, be happy, be joyful, be in the present moment, right? Your animal companions will completely support you. And the other thing that Spirit was bringing in was that it's important to remember who you are. You're a soul first. You are a powerful, magnificent soul who's just having a human experience, right? And so when you can remember that you have everything that you could ever need that's already inside of you, feel that power, right? Like there is literally nothing outside of you that you require. All the answers are within you, and you can tap into that at any point in time because you're a soul first and you're already perfect. You're already magnificent. You are already worthy and deserving of unconditional love and support, and you are always safe and protected by your spiritual team, even when it doesn't feel like it. And everything that's happening is happening for your highest and greatest good, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment, which it never does when you have dis-ease, but there's always a reason for it. And it's always in your highest and greatest.
And you're enough. You
You're
are
always, yeah.
enough. That's it. Nobody needs to define that for you. You are enough. You are worthy enough. You're smart enough.
Yep.
You are blah, 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 enough.
Yep. 100%.
I can never hear that saying again, though, because I saw the Barbie movie. And you're enough. You're not just enough, you're enough. This is not a plug or a diss on it, but you are enough. It's so silly. Every time I hear it. I love that, though. You are enough, exactly who you are right now. You are not broken. You are not a project. You know, you're a piece of, how do you say that? A work in progress. We are all evolving to our highest selves, but don't put so much judgment. Allison, the animals, I don't know how I could be so silly as to not say that. Of course, I love that. Two things. My grandfather, God rest his soul, he wanted to come back as a dog because of how well my grandma took care of her dogs. So, like, next time I'm coming back as a dog. I mean, she loved them. But the animals, number one, if you're alone and you don't have a big support system, gosh, the animals are so beautiful for that, right? They just want to love on you. And it's an energy exchange. You know, I had my darling cat who's passed. He tried to take my cancer. He would like lay on my belly where the cancer was, and then he actually died of tumors in that. So yeah, they're there to help you. They want to heal you, but they are a great companion, a great energy exchange. And the other thing that you said that really struck me that I think is really important to point out to everybody is living in the present. The animals do that so easily, right? They don't have a choice. And when we're communicating with them, that's what we do. But living in the past of all the regrets or should-haves, would-haves, could-haves, living in the future of the might, no, right here, right now is where you are. And what can you do with that today?
That's another indication of being conditioned, though. If you can't stay in the present moment and you're harping on the past, your body is still conditioned. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. If anybody is into him, he literally talks about your body is conditioned. It actually makes synthetic hormones to keep you in the past experiences because that's where your body seems to function. And it's about you staying in the present moment, looking forward to those future realities, those future manifestations, and getting out of those past, because you're not that version of you anymore. You don't need to be there anymore. You are growing, you are evolving. It's about moving forward. It's about creating the best life that you could have and bringing in those experiences of what it could be, not stuck here with, I'm stuck with my disease. I could be free. I could be living my life. What does that life look like? Your dream life. Design it, live it. Don't be stuck over here in the past. Condition your body to stay in the present moment and move to the futures.
I love that.
Yeah,
Oh,
kids and animals do it the best, right?
They do.
Yep.
And I would just wanted to touch on being in the present moment, especially disease, or if we've had a past where we've not had great experience, can be very scary. We can have a lot of fear. So it can feel really fun and easy to just look forward to that future bit because it all looks sparkly and nice. And if we can just get there, then everything will be okay. And so to give yourself permission, you don't have to be unafraid to move forward. You can move forward in fear, and that's okay too. It's about taking the one step at a time, acknowledging where you're at in the present moment, being really real about the fact that it might be really scary or lonely, or you don't know, because being in this uncharted territory, if we're trying to uncreate all of these things that we've lived our whole life, can be terrifying. So just give yourself grace to be in this uncharted territory. Ask yourself, what if? Well, what if I do it this way? What if I do it that way, and test it out and see how it feels, and allow yourself to do this, even if you are afraid, because then that fear will start to dissolve and you'll find your flow to move toward the future that you really desire, but you'll be creating it in the moment rather keeping it in front of you constantly.
Yep.
Anyone else? Any final thoughts? Because we are getting close to our hour here. We're going to be wrapping up. So any other final thoughts? I love what everybody had to say about just some different ways to look at where you're at right now and kind of take control of this moment in time. Not the past, not the future, but this moment to create your new reality. So some tips in there. We had the book drop from Stephanie, Dr. Joe Dispenza. The only thing I would add is I did, not that I've personally read them, but I know a lot of people love Esther and Jerry Hicks. The Astonishing Power of Emotions is another book that'll help you to take your emotions and see where that's manifesting in your body. And Heal Your Body, Louise Hayes. There's an A to Z, and then also Wayne Dyer has some books on healing as well too, just to go back ways, because I just always remember that before I got, or when I got cancer, they would say, well, cancer is a manifestation of anger, and I'd be like, that really pisses me off. But I couldn't see the reality behind that, so that's my confessional for today. But getting to the heart of how do we stop these diseases? Educate yourself, seek counsel with a trained professional, a doctor, a counselor, a spiritual advisor, all of it. Make a team. I do have an Amazon little book out there. I think it's a 99-center I wrote about 6 years ago about my journey through cancer and how cancer cured me. Feel free to look at that, but it was the holistic team that I put together and how I started changing things. I will revamp it somewhere down the road because it's a little outdated, some old thoughts, but it was my journey and that's where I was at the time. So I'm not plugging my 99-cent book. I'm the only one that's ever bought a copy of it. I made 30 cents. But anyways, if you want it, it's out there. Make a team for yourself, get yourself a support system, and reach out to one of us if you think that we're aligned to help you so that you don't get disease in your body. And everybody may have a little comment to add about that, and then we will finish off. So,
and if you do, don't let yourself identify with it. Don't know it's a death sentence, because at any point in time, you can change your reality. You can change your belief and you can move into a different direction. You chose that experience for some odd reason, and maybe we just need to discover what that is together. Maybe you need that awareness. Or maybe you need a candle to just really show it to you.
Perfect. So if you're interested in working with any of the ladies that are on this call today, you can reach out to them directly. You can reach out to me and I will put you in contact with them. You can send a pigeon carrier with a message. There's like so many different ways. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, everybody's all over the place. My email is in all the copy for the show, and on this page, drop a comment. If you need anything further, let us know and we'd be happy to support you. And let us know how you liked our table talk today, our square talk. I thank everybody for showing up. Anyone have anything else before I close us? I'm sorry.
The only thing I would want to say is make sure that you are practicing self-awareness. Pay attention to what's running in the background. Pay attention to what your thoughts are. Because most people go through the day with like millions of thoughts and we're not even consciously aware of the thoughts that we're thinking. And my guides always like to show it as like driving a car, right? Like in the beginning, you drive the car, it's really clunky. You're like, wait, I got to do this. Wait, what's my next step, right? And then all of a sudden it just becomes a normal way of being. You never think about it again. You get in the car, you drive, you get from point A to point B. Not a single conscious thought is needed, right? But when you start paying attention to those thoughts, it's really, really important, because a lot of the ways that we keep ourselves stuck is based on habits. They're habits, and we just need to break the habit.
And we might be unconsciously aware.
Exactly. So.
Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate you spending your Saturday morning with us or whatever time it is when you see this. We've enjoyed this time. And like I said, reach out to us in any way, shape, or form that you would like to, and we'll make sure that we take care of you. So have a great day and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I stopped the live stream. Just check. I was trying to see if we had any comments, but I wasn't able to. And it says we're live now.
And you're still recording.
I was
Oh,
going
I'm
to say
doing
that.
all that. See, this is what goes on behind the scenes. Okay, stop recording. You guys want